Hi, this is Tay with Thinking with Tay, and today's guest is Miss Sharon Lutz Harris. How are you doing, Sharon?
I'm great. Thank you. Hope you are.
I'm doing wonderful. Oh my gosh, I am so excited about this. One, Sharon is a two-time author, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. I just want you to know that this is going to be a treat today for me. One, because I get to speak to a person who is a veteran in the educational system, who can provide a lot of insight for Title I schools, as well as just her teaching experience. And then we're going to get into her authorship. I personally have purchased one of the books. It's called Untouchable. But we're going to get into that. So before we get started, though, Sharon, it's indeed a pleasure to have you. Sharon is another hometown girl, actually a distant relative of mine. And I am super excited to have you here with us, Sharon. I really am. So thank you again for joining Thinking with Tay.
You are very welcome. I'm excited as well.
Absolutely. So, Sharon, for the people, I'm going to introduce you to some and reintroduce you to others. So, Sharon Lutz is the author of Untouchable, a story of the Ridgeview Panthers, as told by Xenophone Lutz Jr., which is her father. Mr. Lutz, which was the number one, this book was the number one new release in children's football books the first week of the release. That is a phenomenal feat. She has also written Whispers of Love, a book full of words of affirmation for young children. She is a 24-year veteran teacher from Hickory, North Carolina, again, my hometown. She has two daughters and resides in Greensboro, North Carolina. She writes children's books to inspire young readers. Hear ye, Mrs. Sharon Lutz. Sharon, again, this is so exciting. And before we get started, I do have her book, Untouchable, here. And Sharon, if you have your other book, we're going to get into this later. But I
I
wanted to
do.
share this is a phenomenal, phenomenal read for young children. Untouchable and Whispers of Love. We're going to delve into that. But first, we're going to understand a little bit how Sharon got to the space where she is now. So, Sharon, let's just go ahead and get started. So, tell me, what inspired you to become a teacher?
Wow. Well, I don't really know if it was one thing that inspired me to become a teacher. I think I
Okay.
just always knew that I should be a teacher. And my
Okay.
mom always said, you should be a teacher. Um,
Oh,
so
wow.
I, yeah, I think that I've been blessed.
Yes.
And I was blessed to have a lot of wonderful teachers when I
Yes.
was growing up. I had Miss McCall when I
Okay.
was at Kenworth. She was actually a reading teacher, and I actually had problems reading when I was younger.
Okay.
But my
Okay.
mom got with Miss McCall.
Mm-hmm.
We started working together, and my
Mm-hmm.
love for reading started right there. I started
Excellent.
reading everything. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, and I also had a wonderful teacher in middle school. Her name was Miss Dietrich. And
Okay.
she had a lot of faith in me. Although I
Yes.
wasn't the best student
Mm-hmm.
at that
Mm-hmm.
time, I was different.
Yes.
I wasn't really interested in school. Um,
Wow. And you became a teacher.
right. So now it's my goal to get kids interested in school. So
Yes.
yeah, so I think that had a lot to do with why I became a teacher.
That's excellent. The fact that you are a teacher now and you motivate students on a daily basis to enjoy reading, and you're an avid reader now, to the point where you're a two-time author. Tell me just a little bit about that story. I can understand having maybe not being the and being not the best student as you describe it, and then now being able to use your experiences in order to now impact others who may have been or are in the same situation that you've been. How have you, I imagine that's certainly beneficial to them, because a lot of times teachers can stand in, positions of authority and act as if they've never gone through anything. So to have
Right.
someone like yourself to be able to, relate to children who have those same struggles. I imagine that that's certainly instant gratification when you can see a child change in terms of their interest in learning and development. I imagine that has to be instant
Right.
gratification for you.
Exactly. And I try to help my students to understand that teachers are human too. We've
Amen.
gone through some of the same things that they've gone through. We
Mm.
deal with some of the same things. I was very shy as a child. So when I see a shy student, I'm able to relate to that and, just help them in my own little way. I help them to understand that teachers mess up too. I mess up
Yes.
quite a bit,
Yes. Yes.
Right. And
That's
they need to understand that we make mistakes and that we can get past those mistakes.
because that's interesting. And I like that because it's almost like sometimes I've had teachers like this. It's almost like you're trying to perfect something to be perfect. And oh, you have to do it this way. But children learn differently,
Exactly.
and what may motivate some children may not motivate others. And it's excellent to have teachers who can find different ways to teach and to acknowledge the fact that there are children who don't learn in a monolithic way. And it's
Exactly.
sad, because a lot of times I think some teachers have the mindset of almost like a herd mentality. If you don't get it by this time, then something's extremely wrong with you, where it might just be that you might need to find another way to teach
Exactly. Because
that
we're all
child.
different. Yes.
Awesome.
All
Awesome. Oh,
different.
yes,
Learn
they're all
different.
different. Yes. And we talked about your 24 years of teaching. Have you taught at different levels, or has it been elementary, high school or middle school? Like what levels have you taught in your 24 years?
So I've taught, it's all elementary school.
Okay.
I've taught kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and fifth grade.
Oh,
So,
okay.
right. I guess I could have said everything except for fourth. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, most of my experience is in kindergarten and second grade.
Okay. Okay. So have you found that the kindergarten and second grade, would you say that that's where or I'll say where you can make the most impact, or where you found that that's been where you've been most impactful with those? And I asked this
Um,
question. Well, I asked this
mhm.
question. Let me preface it because I've heard from other teachers who they like to get them young, because when I took a class in undergrad and it was called Family and Social Relationships, and in that class it talked about that you can determine how or what that child will be as an adult almost from the age of 0 to 5. And so
Wow.
that's where they soak up everything like a sponge. So I've heard some teachers say, well, I'd rather do pre-K or kindergarten or maybe first grade, but I really don't want to go higher than that. So that's why I asked you that question. What has been probably, if you felt like you was more impactful, maybe for that reason, or, does it vary for you, or is there a difference
Well,
at all?
yeah, it's the foundation. And the foundation is so very important. They have
Yes.
to get the things that they need when they're younger. I would
Yes.
have to say that kindergarten um was my favorite. It's still my favorite. I'm just a little too old for the kindergartners at this point. But
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, pre-K, kindergarten, they come in and they are somewhat of a blank slate. And I mean, you get to fill it up,
Yes.
and
Makes sense.
right, exactly. Um, as they get older, of course, they can continue to learn.
Yes. Yes.
But that foundation, kindergarten, pre-K, really,
Mm-hmm.
kindergarten
Mm-hmm.
and first and second, they
Mm-hmm.
have to, yeah, they're really,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the foundation.
Yes, that is the foundation. And I can certainly see that, like you said, because other than maybe what their family have taught them, they don't have a jaded experience yet.
Mhm.
They're fresh, brand new, and you can just pour into them. And I
Exactly.
can certainly see how that might be, certainly rewarding. And you could see the instant gratification. You'll have that right then because you
Right.
see it's almost like a eureka moment. Oh, oh, they're still in that stage.
Right.
So let me tell you, what has been your most rewarding experience thus far as a teacher in your 24 years? I imagine there's many, but what
Mhm.
maybe stands out the most right now?
I think it would be seeing the growth of the students,
Okay.
seeing how they come in. Let's say if they come in and they don't know how to read, and at the
Yes.
end of the year they are reading and they are loving it.
Mm-hmm.
It might be that they're struggling with a certain thing in math, and
Mm-hmm.
then by the end of the year, you see how they've grown.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, it's probably seeing that growth. I've
Okay.
also been impacted by just, the students and what they say to you. Miss Harris, I love
Yes.
you. I just had a
Yes. Oh,
parent that really showered me with so many gifts during Teacher
teacher
Appreciation Week.
appreciation.
When I was thanking her, I was like, I really appreciate you. And she said, no, we appreciate you. And you've had
Appreciate
such an
you.
impact on um the child that I was talking about. So just those
Absolutely.
small things, when they write a little note and hand it to
Oh
you, a
gosh.
picture. Yeah, so those things stay with me.
Yes. And that's important to acknowledge teachers. We all talk about, you know, economically, financially, how rough it is on teacher. And really, you guys, that can be hard just throughout the year. So to have a teacher appreciation week, of course it makes sense. And I do it for my 11-year-old. There's not a teacher appreciation that I don't, even not just teacher appreciation, Christmas, I do it, because it's an opportunity for us to share with the teachers how much we do appreciate them. And it's
It
important to
means a
acknowledge
lot.
our teachers in that mode. You guys do a whole lot. You do a lot for us. You really do. And we're so grateful for that you continue to do this 24 years in and out and plus,
Right.
so I, we owe a debt of gratitude to the teachers. So I'm telling you. So let me ask you, primarily your experience, you said elementary, but what I understand from earlier communication, you've worked in Title I schools. Tell us what that is. Now, I understand what that is, but just for our listeners, can you explain what that is and just tell us a little bit about your experience with that?
Right. Well, I don't have a lot of experience on the administration side. So,
Yes,
I
okay.
can tell you that, you know, Title I schools are based on the income of parents.
Yes.
And there has to be a certain amount of families in that school
Mm-hmm.
to be called a Title I school.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different resources that Title I
Mm-hmm.
schools might get that other students
Schools.
or other
Mm-hmm.
schools may not have.
Mm-hmm.
You may get resources for
Mm-hmm.
certain professional development, uh,
Mm-hmm.
teachers, resources for instructional supplies,
Mm-hmm.
resources for different positions like tutors or interventionalists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Mm-hmm.
just different resources that
Mm-hmm.
could be provided because of
Right.
Title I school.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And basically, the government funds that, they allocate that money. And I know that, and we don't have to go that deep into it, but I know there's certain criteria that schools have to meet. And as you pointed out, it has pretty much to do with income, underprivileged communities, parents, and serving those students. I think that's excellent. That's excellent. And
Right.
so have you found there to be, I'll say, with respect to that, is there some level of difficulty? Well, if you've done it, I'll say you but primarily taught in Title I schools. So I would say that you probably haven't, I mean, in terms of meeting certain programming, in the classroom in order to, I imagine there's criteria that has to be met probably on an annual basis. And I know you can't speak from administrative level, but in the classroom, are there, certain things that you have to implement and meet on an annual basis, maybe in your curriculum or lesson plans?
Well, I do know that there has to be a certain amount of communication with
Okay.
parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there has to be, and should be, um,
Mm-hmm.
just different interventions for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Uh,
you're fine.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Small groups based
Yes.
on the data
Mm-hmm.
that we have for the
Mm-hmm. Yes,
um,
and that's probably tied to like your assessments, like when you give them
exactly.
maybe like your end of grade or end of course testing, and so
Exactly.
that probably drives, some of the things that you end up having to implement in your classrooms for an individual student or a class. Am I correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that clarification. Um, Now tell me, in your 24 years of experience, what would you recommend that parents should do in order to increase a child's academic performance? If you see a child may start off in their first assessment, they kind of having struggles. They may be lower than grade level, maybe farther or way lower than grade level. And so what would you encourage parents, I'll say, to do in order to increase their academic performance throughout the year so that maybe they can get to grade level by the end of the year?
Right.
Mhm.
So the first thing I would say is to start teaching your children early.
Mhm.
As
Mhm.
soon as they are
Mhm.
born. I would say even
Yes.
before that, start reading
Mhm.
to your
Yes.
children.
Yes.
Read to your children as babies, as toddlers, as they get older, read,
Read, read,
read.
read.
Um, Go over those ABCs and the sounds and the numbers
Mhm.
because they soak it all in. I
Mhm.
would say talk to your children, have
Mhm.
conversations, introduce new vocabulary words to them. Um,
Mhm.
in terms of when they're in school, I would say reinforce what the teachers are doing.
Mhm.
Pay attention to their homework,
Mhm.
help them with it.
Mhm.
Keep in contact with your teacher. Um,
Yes.
yeah, know what they're doing in the classroom. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, and again, reinforce it at home.
Yes, I can agree with that. I only have one child, and she's 11 now, and she was just inducted to the National Junior Honor Society.
Wonderful.
She's been a straight A student, yes, basically from K through now. Well, she's in the
Awesome.
sixth grade.
Congratulations. Yes.
Yes, thank you. But I am a firm believer, my husband and I are a firm believer in making sure reading has been a part of her life. We started in utero. So when she was in my
Right.
belly, we started reading. And that's one of the things that I encourage other parents to do. And they say, well, how did you get? I said, honestly, we just read and we don't miss a night of reading. She
Right.
reads and she constantly reads. She reads so much now because she's in all honors classes,
Hmm.
but she reads a lot now. So, but what, even if it's a positive perception book, even if it's just something just outside of learning, but just reading, just, you
Right.
know, reading,
Yes,
right?
it's very
Just,
important.
not necessarily something that, has to be thought provoking, but reading, hearing words, listening, pronunciation, enunciation, all of those things. and
Right.
and and
Exactly.
we started that very early, so I can certainly attest to that. Reading, if nothing else, because that's the foundation of everything else.
Yes,
You can't
ma'am.
do math if you can't read the problem. You
Exactly.
can't do science experiments and projects if you can't read.
Exactly.
Those semicolons and periods, honey, that make a
Right.
difference. You got to know when to stop, pause, and move on, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but that's
Very vital.
excellent. I totally agree with the reading part. I say if you don't do anything else, read and make them
Your
read. You
child.
know.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna segue, and you saw me put up your book, and I want you to put up the other one, but we're gonna start with Untouchable first.
Okay.
One that obviously you guys see, I've already purchased it. I purchased it when she first published it, and it is a phenomenal read. Not just for young children, but for older children. One, I kind of know a little bit about the story, so but I'm gonna let Miss Sharon Lutz share with you what is Untouchable and what inspired you to write it.
Okay. So, Ridgeview Panthers in
Yes.
1964, the Ridgeview High School football team, an all-black football team, went the
Mhm.
entire season undefeated and unscored on.
Yes.
So this story was told to me for years as I was growing up by my dad.
Yes.
And we were young, so we were
Yes.
like, okay, didn't
Yes.
really think anything about it. And of course,
Yeah.
he has all girls, so we didn't hear anything
I
about
know.
football. So as we got older and we continued to listen, we were like, wait a minute. It's like an aha moment. It's like, wait a minute, you mean nobody scored
Mm.
you the entire season? So, I mean, it just became a little more real for us.
Yes.
I think it was when they were celebrating 50 years.
Yes.
Yeah, 50 years of their accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Then people started recognizing them, or really
Yes.
before that.
Yes.
Richard Eller at CVCC, he wrote a book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They organized the celebration at the Ridgeview Ball Field,
Yes.
right? And it was such an inspiration just being there. And I'm gonna tell you
Yes.
what, it is such an inspiration just hearing them talk about it.
I
It's like
know.
watching the documentary and just listening to them, you're in awe.
Oh
So
my goodness.
when they had that program at the ball field, we were on the way home and still just, like I said, in awe of everything. And my
Yes.
mother said, okay, so we were talking about how to get the word out about the Untouchables. So my daughter
Yes.
said, Mom, you should write a book. And I said, I should write a book.
Why not write a
Right,
book?
definitely. Yeah, so the purpose of the book is to let other people know about the Untouchables and everything
Yes.
they accomplished.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. I'm almost waiting for the movie.
Right. There needs to be a movie. There needs to
There
be a movie.
needs to be a movie.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, what a phenomenal, historical, story that
Exactly.
the fact that not just undefeated, because there's a lot of teams that go undefeated, but unscored on.
Exactly.
Like you couldn't even get a 3-point conversion.
Right.
You you couldn't,
Right.
unscored on, like
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
unheard of.
Exactly.
They were so bad. They were so tough. Could nobody even
Exactly.
score on them?
And
And
still
your
hold
dad
records
was a part of
today.
that team. That
Yes.
is, it's unbelievable. I cannot believe we we're gonna have to talk off camera about this movie.
Exactly. What's unbelievable is that more people don't know about it.
I mean,
Right.
I cannot. It's a phenomenal story that's basically wow, been told by you. Thank you through your father. But the
Right.
fact that um it's such a phenomenal feat, and it's been many years since it happened, and unfortunately we have lost some of the members on the team,
Mhm.
but I almost think it would be a disservice if we don't get it out further.
I
I love
agree.
the fact that you put it in writing in your book, but it is certainly a story. I think about all of the stories that are told, football stories, and just about different experience that are almost like unheard of and phenomenal, almost extraordinary experiences that we see and watch on TV, which I absolutely love. But
Right.
I certainly think that this is certainly one we definitely need to put out even a little bit on a broader, larger scale. But anyway, we'll talk
Definitely.
about that a little bit more. So, and we talked about who inspired you. Your dad talked about would tell you guys, and you didn't understand the impact. Like you said, you have all girls,
Right.
but I imagine, if he has grandsons now, I'm sure
Yeah.
he
He has one grandson, and
oh, one
he does play
grandson.
football. Yes. Melinda has a son.
Oh, right. Oh, okay, right. So he's the only grandson.
Only grandson.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I know he is waiting for his legacy somewhere to pop up.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, in a play on this, the title of this book, Untouchable. What does untouchable mean to you?
Wow, that is a deep question because it
Yes.
means so much more than football. I mean, if
Yes.
you listen to the story of the Untouchables,
Yes.
they accomplished everything because of all the support that they had, the
Mm,
community, their
yes.
teachers, their coaches.
Yes.
Um, I mean, it's so It's so much. It's so phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
During the
So
era of segregation, I might add.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
And I
during
know
the segregated South.
right. One thing Dad said was everybody will come to those games.
Yes. I
In
heard of that. I've
1954,
heard
there are
about it.
white people coming to the game to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that, I mean, that says a lot in itself. That says a lot about how
It
awesome,
really does.
you know?
Hmm. So, and you shared a little bit about this. You said you felt that this story was important to tell. One, because it's a phenomenal story. One, it's unprecedented, unscored on, um, no game loss. But even more important, it goes beyond that. It goes to resilience. It goes to strength. It goes to support. It speaks to all of those things because while they were students in high school, they had to have parents that, because you can imagine during that time, it wasn't really a time to be traveling, kind of too far out and, in spaces and in places that really probably weren't safe. So
Right,
we're talking about being able to accomplish something in that time, in
right.
in the 60s,
With the
right?
limited resources that they had. They
With
played
the
on a
lim
dirt field.
on a dirt field,
Right.
sliding, slipping, clay, mud, everything.
Exactly.
Still, nobody could do that. And it's hard for anybody to do that today. It's hard for
Exactly.
professionals teams to
Yes,
do that
ma'am.
today. Little league teams to do that today. To go unscored on
The
and a
entire
game
season.
never being lost. So you can imagine the support that was needed, not like you said, from teachers, administration, the community, and
Right.
the people that came out to support. Because again, in Hickory, North Carolina, you would have, it's not the largest city,
Hmm.
but to know that such an impact was made in that community in Ridgeview.
Exactly.
Wow. Wow. I tell you. And it is very important to tell. So let me talk a little bit about, and then we talked about the significance as well. I think it's important to highlight those things. Um, where do you see I'll say, the significance of in today's life, considering the things that we have seen with our youth, the challenges that we have, your father being able to maybe even just reach out and talk to a young child who may be, in pursuit of, be it football or any other sport. I mean, just bridging that gap, I think, is another significance or important piece to this, being a member of a surviving member of the Untouchables, for him to
Hmm.
be able to reach out and touch younger children and encourage them. And I understand he's a pastor now. And I imagine you have youth in the church and what have you. So I'm sure he's doing that all the time.
Yes, exactly. And I even had a friend of mine to reach out. Um, and this was during the pandemic.
Yes.
And we read the book, and my dad was able to get on, and the kids loved it. So it's like
Oh
a
my
virtual
goodness.
lesson with my dad, and
Yes.
yeah, in the Untouchable book. Yeah,
That
but
is that is I mean, that is awesome in so many ways. So we're going to move on a little bit because I want to talk to you a little bit about your other book as well. And if you'll hold that up for us, Sharon, and tell us a little bit about that book,
yeah, so this
Whispers of
is
Love.
yeah, whispers of love, whispers of affirmation. These
Okay.
are words that you can read to your child in the morning, in the evening, to encourage them.
Yes.
And we all need encouragement. We adults need encouragement.
Every day.
Yeah, so I think it's just important to let our kids know that we love them, that we have faith in them,
Yes.
and that if they work hard, they can do anything. So that's basically the purpose of Whispers of Love. And
Whispers of
there's
Love.
even a place in the back of the book for you to write your own words. Yeah,
Excellent.
your words of love or words of affirmation to your child.
Yes. I love that. So it's a reading book, but it's also a workbook, one that you can reference daily. It's almost having like a journal. So,
Definitely.
and you can go right. So the one thing I do want to highlight how important affirmations are. and I kind of spoke to this on another video. Affirmations really are the key, in my opinion, to success. If you say I am, that's if you just start with I am. So because some people say, well, how do I write an affirmation? Or how do I speak? I said, start with I am.
Right.
I
Exactly.
am beautiful. I am smart. I am intelligent. I am successful. And some people say, well, I'm not really those things yet. Or in my mind, I don't really see it. You tell yourself that I am, you are affirming over your life what you are, and you're going to manifest what that is, even if it's not presently happening. So I
Exactly.
always say, and my daughter, we started her out, my husband, I have to give, him full credit, or at least I'll say the majority of the credit, because he is an avid reader. I mean, my husband has countless books. We can't even count the number of books. His library is extensive. So he is certainly an
Right.
avid reader. And so, again, we have taught our daughter to, believe in who she is, because when you walk out that door, the one thing I tell her before she walk out, I said, you know who you are. So don't let anybody tell you who you're not,
Exactly.
because it could be a teacher, it could be a student, it could be anybody that try to throw you off. But if you know who you are, so then
Right.
nobody else can change that for you. So we have encouraged her daily, and we arm her daily by saying,
Right.
you know who you are. Don't let anybody tell you who you're not. And that comes with affirming her and her affirming herself every day.
And that
So I
will stay with her.
understand
Yes.
the importance of whispers of love. That is awesome.
Yes. Thank you.
That is awesome. And we're coming to a close. I mean, this was, certainly a phenomenal, but interview and discussion with you. But I want you to be able to share with us, where can these books be purchased now?
They can both be purchased on Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon. So they're still available on Amazon. So we have
Yes.
Untouchable, and Whispers of Love.
Yes.
Sharon, I'm telling you, I really have enjoyed this conversation. Is there any way that they can reach you? Do you have like a website or platform, or is there some way if somebody has a question, if they want to speak to you as for a speaking engagement, how can they reach you?
Definitely. Yes, I do have a Facebook account.
Yes.
You can just search for Sharon Lutz Arthur.
Sharon Lutz on Facebook. Yes, yes. And guys, you can purchase both books on Amazon. Sharon, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed this
Thank you.
conversation with you. We've learned about Title I schools. We've learned about your experience as a 24-year veteran, primarily at the elementary education level, and the impact that you have provided on these children. Being an example, being a person who wasn't, again, in your words, maybe the best student. Um, and then to become a phenomenal reader and then a two-time author. I mean, what an example of resilience and belief in yourself and affirming yourself daily, that you continue to do the things you do now, and that's what motivates you. it is
Thank
it is
you.
awesome, and we are so grateful and indebted to teachers like you. So thank you again for being here today.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
I definitely enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And to the listeners, again, go out and buy Whispers of Love, Untouchable. And if you have any questions, for Miss Sharon Lutz, she is available on Facebook, and she might be available for speaking engagements. And who knows, maybe she can get one of the stars of the book, her daddy, to maybe
Exactly.
do something else. So, but anyway, you guys, I don't tell you, it is not my goal to tell you what to think. I just want you to think. And I have enjoyed this opportunity again, yet again. But again, until next time, you guys take care. Goodbye.